Good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Aniyusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. You can also follow us on YouTube at 3FM927. Read out to you with your comments and your views and to the rest of the world as well. This evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It's a tough, black, dark Wednesday. President John Mahama directs flags to fly at half-mast following the tragic deaths of defense and environment ministers and 6 others in a military helicopter crash in the Adanse Akrofom district of the Ashanti region. Meanwhile, the Ghana Armed Forces commences investigation into the incident. Stay tuned. We'll delve deeper into the matters, including an eyewitness account of exactly what happened. We also will be at the family houses of some of these persons whom we have lost in the line of duty. I am Alfred Ocansey. Let's settle for a summary of the news now.
Yes, Alfred, and we start off on a very sad note because President John Dramani Mahama has ordered national flags to fly at half-mast after the death of some state officials in a helicopter crash on Wednesday, August 6, 2025. At an emergency press briefing at the presidency, Chief of Staff Julius Deborah announced that Defense Minister Dr. Edward Kofi Omane Boamah and Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation were among the people who died in the fatal military helicopter crash on Wednesday. The former Ashanti Regional Minister Samuel Sarpong, who was also on board the helicopter, lost his life. Others who have been confirmed dead in the crash are Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator, and Samuel Abuaje, who is a former Member of Parliament, and Dr. Samuel Sarpong, Vice Chairman of the NDC. The crew members were Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manichum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Now, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Emilia Arthur, has announced the termination of fishing licenses for 4 industrial trawlers that repeatedly violated the country's fisheries regulations. Speaking during her turn at the Government's Accountability Series on Wednesday, August 6, the minister said the action forms part of broader efforts to promote sustainable and responsible fishing practices within the country's aquaculture sector. She also disclosed that the FAU has arrested people who have been dealing illegally in pre-mixed fuel on Wednesday morning. And finally, power has been fully restored to Tamale and its surrounding areas after a timely intervention by the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Jinapor, following a service withdrawal by staff from the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, and Volta River Authority, VRA. According to a press statement released by the ministry, the disruption had left thousands of residents without electricity, but the minister's decisive action and engagement with stakeholders led to a swift resolution. Alfred.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com, and we go straight to the family house of the late Dr. Samuel Sarpong. That's his residence in the Ashanti region, specifically the Inshaioso constituency in the Ashanti region. And this man that we're talking about, that is Dr. Samuel Sarpong, was one-time mayor of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly and then also one-time Ashanti regional minister until his untimely death today. He was serving as the vice chair for the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC. And my colleague Nanadia Kantanka, who was at the residence of the late Dr. Samuel Sarpong, spoke to me a few minutes ago, and also one supporter of the NDC at the residence of the late Dr. Samuel Sarpong. This is what they had to say. We'll try to get that connection shortly and then also bring you some details of what's happening there. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But Ghana is mourning following the tragic deaths of 2 ministers of state and 6 others in a military helicopter crash in the Adansi Akrofom district of the Ashanti region. President John Mahama has directed that all national flags fly at half-mast from today in honor of the late Minister for Defense, Dr. Omane Boamah, and the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. The fatal incident occurred earlier today as the ministers and their entourage were en route to Obuasi for official duties. Announcing the directive, Chief of Staff Julius Deborah expressed the government's deep sorrow over what he called an irreparable national tragedy. Take a listen to him.
John Dramani Mahama, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, who is with us here, and the government of Ghana. I have the unpleasant duty, sadly, to announce a national tragedy involving the crash of a military helicopter this morning around the Adansi area in Ashanti region. Government regrets to announce the demise of the following persons in the tragic crash. Dr. Edward Kofi Omane Boamah, Minister for Defense. Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, MP, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lemona, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator and former Minister for Food and Agriculture. Dr. Samuel Sarpong, Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, and Mr. Samuel Abuaji, a former parliamentary candidate. Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manin Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. The President and government extends our condolences and sympathies to the families of our comrades and the servicemen who died in service to the country. All flags are to fly at half-mast until further notice. Thank you.
That's according to a statement, that was the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, there. According to a statement from the Ghana Armed Forces, the military helicopter, which departed from Accra, lost radar contact mid-flight. Moments later, eyewitnesses reported a fear crash in a forested area with all 8 persons on board burnt beyond recognition. The Ghana Armed Forces confirmed the aircraft had 3 crew members and 5 passengers. Here's a list of the deceased persons as far as we do know.
Well, there was Minister for Defense, Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, on board. We have Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. There was Vice Chairman of NDC and former Ashanti Regional Minister, Samuel Sarpong. There was Alhaji Muniru Mohammed Lumuna, who was the Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator. We also had Samuel Abuaji, a former Member of Parliament. The crew members were Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala. We have the Flying Officer, who was Manichum Ampedu, and finally Sergeant Ernest Ado Mensah. May their souls rest in peace, Alfred.
Indeed, and we have a statement from the Ghana Armed Forces. Right now we'll put on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube page. This has just come through from the Ghana Armed Forces, giving further detail of this crash that has led to the death of these 8 persons. It says Ghana Armed Forces Z9 helicopter crashes. The Ghana Armed Forces helicopter Z9 that took off this morning at 9:12 a.m. from Accra en route to Obuasi has crashed in the general area of Sikaman near Adansi Akrofom in the Ashanti region, and all on board are confirmed dead. So that's the confirmation as well from the Ghana Armed Forces. All on board have been confirmed dead. The Ghana Armed Forces regrets to announce that the crew were Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala, Flying Officer Manen Chum Ampedu, and Sergeant Ernest Adumensa. The passengers were Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, Minister for Defense, Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator, and Dr. Samuel Sarpong, Vice Chair, NDC, Samuel Abuaji, former parliamentary candidate. The Ghana Armed Forces extend its condolences to the bereaved families. Investigations have commenced to determine the case and what has happened now as we speak. And that's the statement from the Ghana Armed Forces. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti regional correspondent. Ibrahim has been to the crash scene. And Ibrahim, what have you observed at this crash scene that you visited just some few moments ago?
Well, Alfred, around 2, we had only retrieved 4 bodies, but as I speak to you, all 8 bodies have been retrieved and bagged in a sack. So currently, the traditional authorities are here. They want to line up all the bodies, then they pour their libation before all bodies will be sent to Kumasi and be airlifted to Accra. But the scene is very, very bizarre. You go to the accident scene, you don't even find a helicopter there because almost every part has melted. The remaining parts are scattered far away even from the accident scene, signaling there was an explosion, because when you are going to the scene, 45, 30 meters to the scene, you find a part of the helicopter there. You move, you find another. And I also saw some community members carrying parts of the helicopter going home. They said, I don't know for what reason, but they were holding parts, taking them home, even though for some of them the police had to seize them because these are all part of the things that they are using for investigation. So they are currently, like I said, en route. But the Ashanti Regional Minister, who was here throughout, has still not been able to even utter a word. When he got to the scene, the first thing he did was to pray before the charred bodies, before they started bagging them. And you could see tears swelled in his eyes, not him alone, almost all the people here, because you look at the scene and you may not even be able to stand it. A very, very tragic incident. But the residents are saying, the information I'm taking from some of them, they said the helicopter initially landed at their park, that's Sikamai, before later it took off. I think maybe because of the weather or so, we do not know exactly what happened before it took off. And when it took off, in less than 5 minutes, they heard the crash. And some were even saying when it took off, and you look at the distance, the helicopter was very, very down below instead of going high up. And unfortunately, it crashed into the thick forest. So you go there, you realize that all the trees in the forest are bent. We are told that it hit one of the trees before falling into a ditch within the same forest and exploding, claiming the lives of all 8 occupants.
And Ibrahim, earlier you also gave us some information about some of the persons in this area, indicating how low the flying altitude of this helicopter was. Now, any indication as to the distance between the low altitude and the crash scene exactly? Any preliminary information as far as that is concerned?
Well, not quite a distance, because they are claiming that looking at the low altitude and where it was possible that it could even crash in a tree, because when it went up, landed before going up, they realized it couldn't go far. And this place, Sikamai and Obuasi, where the event was happening, where these dignitaries were going to, if you are in a flight, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. But by road, you are likely going to drive for 2 hours or more because of the bad nature of the road. So maybe they thought that they can quickly move to Obuasi, land at the AGA, airstrip and maybe fix whatever issue that they think was there. But we all cannot tell what exactly happened. In fact, I saw the regional minister calling for them to make sure they get the black box in the helipad. That will also help in the investigation. So they are still searching for the black box, but for the bodies, all 8 have been seen and packed in a sack.
It's troubling, the picture of it as well, of these bodies here, and saying the charred bodies of these persons, as you put it, packed in a sack right now. But I know that this is it's actually a crime scene as we speak, and give us an idea of the security situation there as well, and where exactly this is, because we do know that this was a mountainous area. And does the crash scene also reflect this particular description of this area?
Exactly. The police and military have cordoned off the place. No one has been left behind, because after getting to the accident scene itself is a tedious job. You have to climb a mountain, very, very steep mountain, before you even get there. That's how even some of the people couldn't go there, but they've made sure that they've picked whatever they need to pick. They've also informed the assemblyman and the unit committee members to ensure that no one is allowed to go to that scene. But as I speak to you, all of them are moving from the main town to the accident scene. You walk for almost 2 hours, and like I said, it's a steep. So others who couldn't wait at the down, those who were brave enough to had to follow to see whatever was going on there. So the community is, in fact, they were telling us this is the second time. The first time similar incident happened, a chopper also crashing there, but they said there wasn't any casualty. That's how come it didn't make it in the news this time around. It was fatal, and for that matter, everybody had to come here to witness whatever is going on. So the military is still here, but we'll be moving with all of them to Kumasi. The police said they have picked certain relevant things that they think will even help in the investigation, but they will still come back and do further assessments as part of the investigation.
Ibrahim, I do thank you very much, and I know that you're still there at this accident scene. I will be connecting some more. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for this. Ibrahim Abubakar is a Shanti regional correspondent. He's been at this crash scene for the past 5 hours that we got notice of this particular incident. Captain Michael Foley, retired, is joining us on the telephone. He's been listening to the account by our regional correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar, who is at the crash site as we speak. Captain Michael Foley, retired, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, sir, and thank you for having me.
It's certainly a very tough, sad moment for us as a country. But listening to the detail and also the account of our original correspondent who is at the crash scene as we speak, how is the coming days going to look like, especially when it comes to the protocol that the military will kick in after this incident?
Well, good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners. As you said, this is a real tragedy that's befalling the nation and the families of the deceased. In aircraft accidents, generally, we don't rush, we don't jump to conclusions. Accidents can be caused by many factors. Eyewitness accounts are important, but the real cause of accidents can only be arrived at after the what we call the black boxes, that is the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorders are retrieved, information downloaded, analyzed with the eyewitness accounts. So in the coming days, the investigators are going to get very busy. Those involved in the investigation will have to be the manufacturers of the aircraft, then the Ghanaian authorities. So we should expect a period of investigation. And then the eyewitness accounts can also be added to it. So at this point, as a pilot, I am very careful, because rightly so, not to jump to conclusions as to the cause of the accident.
And rightly so. And that is the most probable step to take. And also I'm guided in all my questioning not to push you into that area of guesswork. But then again as well, you mentioned that from now onwards the military would be demanding a number of things, including the black box, to trace the communication, because the military's statement did indicate that they lost communication with the helicopter mid-air into the journey. That also gives an indication of what next they'll be looking for, is it not?
Well, yes, that will be part of the investigation. You see, when the military or any aviation authority says they lost track of an aircraft, or the aircraft disappeared from the radar, it's just because at that moment we don't know if the aircraft has crashed or has been hijacked or whatever. So that is a generic term they use until it's been established. In this case, it was finally established that the helicopter has crashed. So in aircraft investigations, after extracting the information from the recorders, then we go into things like the maintenance records, crew training, the weather existing at the time. Unfortunately, there is something we call human error. It used to be called pilot error, because at the end of the day, pilots are actually finally held accountable, because they are in a position to take decisions as to if the weather is not favorable, they could decide that we will not continue. If the aircraft is not more functioning, if the aircraft is not very serviceable, they should decide that we will not fly the aircraft. So many factors might have contributed to this accident. So let's see how the investigation is to go. Unfortunately, investigations take a long time. So we might not get the results this week or next month. So this is what we are expecting in the coming days and months.
By best practice, how long will this investigation take?
I think preliminary results will come out after 6 months, and then detailed results will come out much later. This is the practice. In fact, remember in the U.S., a helicopter that crashed with a passenger aircraft. I think this happened early part of this year.
Indeed, yes.
The details are just coming out now, the final details. So 6 months is the initial period, the period that initial investigation results will come out, and then the final results will come out much later.
So 6 months, all things being equal.
Yes, that's about the time frame.
But we had also an account by our correspondent, which also is quite troubling, that some of the residents in this area where this incident happened were spotted with some of the parts of this helicopter that crashed. They were taking them home, and they had to be stopped by the police as well.
Yes, that is bad. No part of this aircraft must be touched, because part of accident investigation is even involves reconstructing the aircraft. So we don't have well-educated people. You know how we behave in Ghana. No, nobody should take any piece home. Any part of this aircraft should not be taken home. This is a rare tragedy. And it's important that the cause of this accident should be known. First of all, to give some form of clarity to the families, and also for lessons to be learned in aviation, especially considering the performance of this very helicopter and aviation safety generally.
And it's important you make this point because it's unclear whether the residents, some of them have actually taken some of these parts home because they were closer to the scene, and it took a while for the security personnel to arrive at the scene. And so it was those who were seen with the parts that they had taken from the crash scene who were asked to return them or they were retrieved from them. But at this point, there has to be an appeal to the residents who may have taken some of the parts of this crashed helicopter to return them, is it not?
Yes, exactly. They did it in ignorance. So yes, there should be an appeal to them, backed by the security forces. All the parts should be retrieved. It's not right.
And finally, before I let you go, you mentioned the process that this will take, and you say give or take at least, all things being equal, 6 months before we get the preliminary outcome of the investigation, not even the full one. Now, within this 6 months period, what should be the kind of communication between the Ghana Armed Forces, the government, and the public, especially because the persons who are involved are all public servants in different areas?
Well, the various organizations you mentioned will be busy doing what they have to do. The military will be concentrating on investigations, which might even mean that the rest of the helicopters, the same type, will be grounded. It's possible until elimination of mechanical failure as a cause. So preliminary, the rest of the aircraft, if they have more helicopters of this type, will be grounded. Investigations will start, and we have a very good accident investigation board in Ghana. So they are going to be very busy. The government, of course, their hands will be full because this is the tragedy hitting the nation, the government, and families. You know, at the end of the day, also, very quickly, those doing the recovery now must go through some counseling because this is a traumatic event. They must be counseled. So counselors must be on the field now, dealing with those doing the retrieval of the bodies and the parts.
And this brings to the fore, Captain Retired, that conversation about retooling the Ghana Armed Forces and then also the Air Force, essentially, because we've had a number of these helicopter-related incidents or accidents, and this, by far, is the most fatal that we have recorded. But in the year 2002, we lost some 7 personnel. And then in 2020, there was another incident, in the northern region. There were no casualties. That also involved a helicopter. Then in 2024, just last year, in March, there was another incident of a helicopter also grounded as a result of a fault. It landed, there was a false landing. There were some passengers on board, some sustained some injuries, but there were no casualties. And so we didn't pay so much attention because, yes, we reported it, and then the military issued a statement because there were no casualties. We moved on like nothing had happened. Then this one, what should be the learnings going forward in addressing the matter of retooling the Ghana Armed Forces, and also the man who even brought our attention and gave detail of the status of the presidential jet, Dr. Omane Boamah, is also part of the persons whom we've lost now. Captain.
Well, I am sure many people are busy now as we are talking. All the concerns you raised, I'm sure will be addressed. It is to do with the type of aircraft, helicopters we are flying. If it's to do with maintenance, if it's to do with crew training, people are going to get very busy. And I hope and pray that it will not be affected by politics, but by the pure desire to have safe aircraft aviation operation in Ghana. That is all I have to say at this point.
And rightly so. And unfortunately, it didn't have to be as a result of the death of these persons before we start thinking and doing the right thing, isn't it?
It's a tragedy. We must learn, and unfortunately, let me repeat, we don't know the cause of this accident yet, but from all the narrations we do, we must take a look at the cause of all these incidents that have culminated in a tragic accident. Yes, there must be some retooling, retraining, or whatever we need to do.
Captain, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Captain Michael Foley, retired, is a former pilot, in fact, in the Ghana Air Force, or the Ghana Armed Forces. So he understands when we talk about the state of affairs in the Ghana Air Force retooling, which he emphasized quite strongly. And let's go back to the Ashanti region. William Evansinkum is our Northern Bureau Chief. He's connecting with us right now. William, certainly is a mood of mourning and wailing in the Ashanti region.
Absolutely. You couldn't have found or proffered a better word than that description. And I can tell you that it is actually pouring from across the political divide. Because this is a man who has carved a niche for himself as far as politics in the Ashanti region is concerned. A former mayor in the SWAL's late Professor J.E.A. Mills administration, then transitioning to a minister in the first administration of the current President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, between 2013 and, of course, 2014, when at a point in time there was some level of historic reshuffle where the regional ministers were reshuffled to other regions to also continue government business there. I mean, he has really, really made a political name for himself, Samuel Sarpong. And, of course, he's loved by many. Look, Samuel Sarpong kind of politics is something that the political waters and then followers describe it as a unifying one. He does not discriminate. And I quite remember during his heydays as the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, most of his aides were MPP, supporters or hardcore MPP members. And those were the people whom he had surrounded himself with. And I quite remember at the point in time, it even became a problem between him and his party, because some also felt that, he's like he has sidelined his own and dining with quote-unquote the devil. And that is the character of Samuel Sarpong. So if you come to his house or his private residence here at Tasmaso, you see a number of people, pouring, or from all walks of life, across the political divide, or they are all here to console the family, especially the wife.
We in fact, that confirms what we spoke to one of the persons at his residence who described him as a father for all figure in there, one-time mayor, one-time minister in the Ashanti region as well. But talk to us about the Nshaisa constituency, where he once contested as well, and where he is, his residence is at the moment.
Well, so if you're looking at the Nshaisa constituency, he also became the first member of parliament to have garnered a more vote for the NDC, even though it is a stronghold of the ruling New Patriotic Party, until Faustina Derry. Faustina Derry, if my memory serves me right, is the only person who probably has performed or outperformed in terms of nominal figures for the NDC as far as parliamentary election in that particular constituency is concerned. look, Alfred, like I said, he's very popular. And if you speak to some of the political watchers, they had anticipated or they had predicted that if age was on his side and was going to keep the momentum, then if a Nshiasu constituency will fall for the NDC, then he would have been the one to, lead that kind of onslaught. But he is no more. Nshiasu constituency loved him. He's also, or his house is also located just at the heart of the constituency, not too close from some of the royals in the Ashanti region. I can tell you that about 2 or 3 of them that he shares neighbor with. So, for instance, Nana Boamah, the former board chairman, the man in charge of PBC during the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration, he is his neighbor, and then a host of others. So, he lives a free life. He's not somebody who really work with, bodyguards or what have you, because he's somebody who has been accepted and he's loved by even his bitterest political rivals.
William Evans Income, I do appreciate you for this, and I know this is a tough moment for you as well. You know this constituency, you know this man like the back of your palm. And
well, absolutely. You see, we call him father. I remember in 2012 when I was covering the election, I quite remember I was somewhere with Mutala Haynes when he called, Evans, come. I quite remember. And I had to move to the Nshiasu constituency. Apparently, he was giving me a vital information. Aside that, Sarpong will just come to the office, call you, look, come here, small boy, come. How are you doing? Look, we've really lost a human being.
Rightly so. William, appreciate you for this. I thank you. Thank you so much. William Evans Income is nothing but Eastern region, and Yvonne Nikoi is going to be joining us shortly, because that is the home region of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. He schooled there. He has his family house there. We got the information about what's happening in his family house. Yvonne Nikoi is going to be joining us in a bit to paint to us the clear picture of what is happening at the family house of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. And we do know that the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has arrived at the residence of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. That's his family house. And then also the deputy defense minister, who worked closely with Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, that is Broja Jemfi, has also arrived at the residence of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. So that is the information as we have it. The Honorable Harry Naidrisu, the Tamale South Member of Parliament, the Minister in charge of Education, had this to say about his very good friend, who is no more, the Tamale Central Member of Parliament, Dr. Mutala Mohammed.
President is down emotionally. We pray that God will give him the fortitude and the Ghanaian people to accept this tragic loss. Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Genana, is now leading a government delegation to formally, but ultimately difficult, go and convey the sad passing of our colleague, Dr. Omane Boamah, Dr. Mutala Mohammed
And for that's the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the Tamale South Member of Parliament, and then also Minister of Education, and he was close friends with the late Dr. Mutala Mohammed, the Tamale Central MP and member, that's the Minister in charge of Environment, Science and Technology there. Now, if you do know them, these two were seen mostly working together prior to the 2024 elections, and even before that, because Mutala Mohammed has had very interesting history in Parliament. He lost, came back. Haruna Idrisu serving as one of his mentors, as he's always said, giving him the guidance in Parliament and learning as well the ropes of politics, especially in the northern region. Unfortunately, Dr. Mutala Mohammed is no more. And this is a man who just last year earned his PhD at the University of Ghana Political Science Department. That is Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, the man who supervised his thesis while studying for his PhD at the University of Ghana, Legon. Dr. Mutala Mohammed, the late now, that's Professor Ransford Jampo, had this to say about Mutala Mohammed and also Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. These two, and this is what Professor Jampo had to say.
The way and manner he received me and gave me all assurance that the boy's condition was critical, and yet he was going to do his best to make sure that the boy survives. And I quite remember any time I went to visit them and I tried to give instructions as to what they should do, then he would yell at me that, hey, this is not political science, then so stay away. And then, so he kept telling me, this is not political science, leave me and let me do my job. And he worked so hard with devotion, dedication, and kept assuring me, I was scared, I'd given up, but he kept assuring me that so long as God exists and so long as he will be professional, he will do all he can to save the boy's life. Today, the boy is 18 years old. The last time I engaged him on telephone was to send the pictures of the boy to him now that he's 18. And it was exciting for him. Every year, I send the pictures of the boy to him, who is now grown to be a very handsome boy. Just last week, I was with him at the Flagstaff House, where they were giving some orientation to the newly appointed CEOs. And I recall last Saturday, when I was in your studios on Key Points, I mentioned him about the training that he came to offer us, and how we would have to be communicating and all that. There was one term he used that he used and said we should guide us in our communication. He called the term missionizing. This is not the time to explain it, but the point is that just last week we were together. Yesterday I spoke to him on a different issue. And this morning or this afternoon to be told that he never fell sick. He is dead and he is gone. Very big blow to me. Now to Mubarak, what's the name? Mutala Mohammed. You come to him, and it's also a huge blow to me on the political science department faculty platform. Everybody is sad, and I'm reading what is going on there. Mutala came to do his PhD at the political science department at the time that I think the NDC had been kicked out of office. And I can't remember when I saw him first time, I was just laughing at him that he is now trying to use academia to while away time and all that.
Yes, Professor Ransford Jampo, political science professor at the University of Ghana, Legon, and also the CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority there. He supervised the thesis of the late Dr. Mutala Mohammed while he was studying for his PhD in political science at the University of Ghana, Legon, which he earned and was awarded just last year. Let's go back onto the telephone now, and let's go straight to the Eastern region. Yvonne Nikwe is a correspondent in the Eastern region. And Yvonne, I know you are the family house of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah. Tell us what's happening where you are.
Well, the delegation from the seat of government, headed by the chief of staff, the chairman of the NDC, lots of government dignitaries were at the residential house of the late Dr. Omane Boamah today to officially inform the family about the passing of their beloved son. Now, the discussions were held indoors because of the nature of it. A few minutes ago, the vehicles have left this place, but it's quite a shocking and devastating issue for the close family and Koforidua as well as by extension, the family and people of Kweu or Boamah, where part of Dr. Omane Boamah comes or hails from. We walk through the line of Kweu or Boamah, and we have a road signage that has his name on it. It's been a very devastating news for Koforidua people, especially for all students of Pope John's Senior High School and Seminary as well, where he stood. Weeks ago, he was in that school to lead their speech and prize during the anniversary. And so it's been a hard blow for all of them.
And I know that he also has some deep roots in that region, having gained his secondary school there as well. His mother, we understand, had this news while watching us on TV3. I mean, just tell us how they are handling this news of the sudden death or passing of their beloved one.
Alfred, it's been a very hard one for them because this is one of, like I said earlier, one of their beloved son. He's been one of the rock of the family, having gone through his basic and senior high school in the Eastern region. I should tell you that he's a staunch Catholic as well, who attends St. George's Cathedral anytime he's in Koforidua as well. And so for that fraternity and within Koforidua, everybody that knows him, it's been devastating. You see people and it's just about tears, and people can't speak about how they feel. It means that they can't put it into words exactly how they are going to express their feelings. It's a hard one. Even for me who have to speak on it, it's been a hard one for me as well.
I see. Now, confirm to us if we have the chairman of the NDC and then also the deputy defense minister, Omane Boamah. That's the deputy defense minister, that's Broja Jemfi, and the others all there at the residence.
Yeah. So, Chief of Staff Julio Zebra, the NDC chairman Esiedun Ketia, the deputy defense minister, the special aide to the president. I'm talking about Joyce Muntagri, Felix Ofosukwachi, all of them, huge delegation. And then the senior officers at the military were all part of this delegation that came in to speak to the mother officially about the matter. They wouldn't speak to the media, of course, because they've done the official briefing in Accra already, but it's been a heavy situation for them. If you look at the faces, you know that indeed the nation has lost great sons, among them as the minister was talking about, and the 7 others that their families, close families, extended families, and everybody as mourning them. Dr. Boamah is such a fine gentleman and a politician, we all do know. Of course, he never stood for any parliamentary elections, but his close association with people he's come in contact with in Koforidua, his mother's relatives as well. Like I said earlier on, his old school and the church it's a big one. It's a big one, Alfred.
Yvonne, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for this great reporting there. Yvonne Nikwe is our Eastern Regional correspondent, and we had to go to the Eastern region for good reason, because that's the home region of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, a prominent Ghanaian politician, medical doctor, health policy planning and financing analyst. He has a rich background in strategic negotiation, solution-oriented leadership, environmental security and ICT, including cybersecurity, a former civilian employee of the Ministry of Defense. So this is not his first stint with the Ministry of Defense. He was one time a civilian employee at the Ministry of Defense. He has an unwavering commitment to national and human security. He served as the NDC Director of Communication, that's the Director of Elections for previous elections. And in fact, prior to the 2024 elections, the many who commended him for the strategy that he put in place to ensure that the NDC's technology and IT systems are robust and up to scratch to ensure the victory of the party in the elections last year. He also was once the Minister for Communication under the ex-John Mahama. That's the first administration of John Dramani Mahama between 2012 and 2016. Prior to that appointment, he was the Deputy Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and the Minister of Sports as well. The man we've lost today served as spokesperson to the President in his first term. He attended Pope John's Senior Secondary School, also in the Eastern region, in Koforidia specifically. He's an alumnus of the University of Ghana Medical School, where he trained as a medical doctor. He attended the London School of Economics and Political Science and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and Harvard University as well. In terms of leadership, he was one time the president of the National Union of Ghana Students, NUGS. That's Dr. Edward Boamah we're talking about. And also the coordinating secretary of the Federation of the Ghana Medical Students Association. And that is where his leadership qualities began shaping up. Let's cross over to the residence of Dr. Edward Boamah. That's his official residence here in Accra. The man who deputized him as the Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Rashid Tanko Computer, is talking
2025
to us. Let's take a listen to him.
I'm really sorry for, letting you speak in this mood. Your posture clearly tells how you feel, and I would really want to tell you to hold yourself together. We are really sorry that this is happening, and we are hoping that you, together with the Defense Ministry and everyone, will be able to hold it in. But I'm sure he had a lot of plans for the ministry. If you could just run us through briefly.
I'll say that we have lost a genuine. In fact, one of the hard-working gentlemen who wanted to transform the ministry, reset the agenda was on. It's full of life, and he wanted to position the ministry among the best defense ministry in the sub-region and the world. Clearly you could see his passion. It was very clear. Unfortunately, things went bad. It's really bad. It's really bad. I'm yet to see the type. I've worked with officers in the party in terms of the elections. This one is one of his kind.
Right.
One of his kind.
Sure. Thank you so much. I would leave you to go now, and peace be unto you, and please be strong. Yes, so we'll continue to speak to a lot more people here as they move out of the house, but you can see about 5 military officers dotted at the entrance leading to Dr. Omane Boamah's house. They wouldn't even allow us to come close to the abode, and we do respect the privacy that the family would need at this point, but we will get some more reactions from other people as well. Just to speak to you briefly, right, some of them are not in the mood to engage us, and we will definitely have to respect that as well. Hearing news of a colleague or a family member who might have unfortunately died through such a tragic way in a helicopter crash, looking at how high this helicopter could be, landing all the way to the grounds. And pictures that we saw was an environment or a surrounding that looked rocky, very hilly as well. From my colleague in Kumasi, Ibrahim Abubakar, who earlier reported, we could clearly see pictures and videos as well where the bodies were reportedly bent beyond recognition. It's just really devastating, and so it is very much important that we get to understand if the family says they need so much privacy at this point. But most of the people who were earlier in the compound, and some have left, others are still, loitering around. I wish we could have gone inside just to have a feel of how the family is grappling with the news and what subsequent plans would be. But that, unfortunately, can't be done at the moment. So we'll just be outside the house and just try to capture the moments. And I will also try to get all of the details that you may need as far as this tragic and rather unfortunate news that has befallen the country is concerned. It's just really sad that this is happening. And my colleague Judith Brown will also be joining me here at the house so that we get to have a brief conversation. He's also been to quite a number of places and monitored a lot of things that have been happening. Earlier, we were at the Environment, Science and Technology as well, where we got reactions and also gauged the mood at Dr. Mutala Mohammed's office. A press conference, if I should say, was held between staff and HR of the ministry to know what has happened, where they were officially informed about the tragic incident that has captured the life of their boss and what should be done subsequently. And like I mentioned, my colleague Judith Brown is joining me here, so we have a brief conversation on what is happening. Adorning your black already, clearly showing how you feel about the incident that has happened, but I'm sure you've also been trying as much as you can to get to this premises, and you have seen the military who say that they wouldn't allow us get into the premises to know exactly what is happening. So Judith Brown, you've heard the news, a lot of reactions on social media as well. People are already asking questions on who will be taking over what, which I believe is so early for us to have a conversation on. But families, friends, and people have been pouring out their hearts on this rather unfortunate news. Earlier in the newsroom, I saw how you also reacted to it as well, because you have had quite a number of interviews with the Environment, Science and Technology Minister, Mutala. You sort of have a relationship with him. And as a reporter who has interviewed him numerously, had conversations with him, I'm sure it's definitely going to be hard for you to hold it in here, but it's a solemn environment. What do you have to say?
Well, words cannot describe how difficult the situation is currently at Omane Boamah's house, his residence. We know that most of his family members are actually not currently here. We're told his wife is not in the country as at yet, and maybe flown in latest by tomorrow. I don't know how she's taken this news, but definitely it's a very shocking situation. The manner in which they left earlier this morning, it is not a way for anyone to go. You wouldn't even wish it on your worst enemy, and so it's a very difficult situation for a lot of people still grappling with the news. In fact, when I heard it myself, I was just waiting to hear that, oh no, someone survived. We're hearing names as to who could have been on board even before the names were released, and we're just shocked. I mean, when I heard and saw his picture, Honorable Mutala Mohammed, Dr. Omane Boamah, I was in shock. I was like, no, this cannot be happening. Not on a day like this. Just to wake up in the morning, expecting everything to go smoothly. They were just on their way to a program in the Ashanti region, only to hear of such a gory death, and the manner in which they went as well. Very, very, very sad and difficult to hear. And so I'm really not in a good mood. A lot of people are not in a good mood. I'm sure you're not in a good mood as well. But those who we should be praying for mostly are the families of those who have lost their lives in such a very bad manner. Right. Godwin.
Absolutely, Judith. It's really been a hard day for all of us, not just at Media General, but, you know, having to step out of the office to either get to the Ministry of Environment and finally landing here. It's just been a journey with a lot of questions running through my mind as to how the families will be able to hold this in. Friends as well. We know that these individuals in one way or the other had a lot of people who, whether learning from their work or being serving as mentors to them. Earlier, Suweba to Adam, who is the director at the learning from their work or being serving as mentors to them. Earlier, Suweba to Adam, who is the director at the
official residence of Dr. was a deputy director of IT and elections for the NDC. He worked closely with his boss, Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, who was then the director of IT and elections for the NDC. Sad one. A number of tributes pouring in thick and fast. We'll read a few and call it a day.
Yes, Alfred, this is from the Embassy of the Kingdom of Morocco to Accra. It says it presents its most sincere condolences to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, to the government and the good people of Ghana, and to all the families of the victims of the helicopter crash that occurred today en route to Obuasi. As we mourn the tragic loss of Dr. Edward Omane Boamah, Minister for Defense, Honorable Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Mr. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, who's acting Deputy National Security Coordinator of the NDC party members and members of the Ghana Armed Forces. It says, our thoughts and prayers are with the bereaved families. May they find solace and fortitude in these difficult times. The German embassy has also says, we stand in grief and solidarity with Ghana. It is with deep sorrow and heartfelt sympathy that the German embassy in Accra has learnt of the tragic loss of lives in a helicopter crash on Wednesday, August 6, 2025. Our thoughts and prayers are with the government, families and friends of the victims. Among the victims are honorable public servants, including 2 ministers with whom the German embassy has worked closely and trustfully. Their dedication to Ghana's development, their vision and their personal warmth will be deeply missed. Germany stands in grief and solidarity with the people of Ghana during this difficult time, and this was signed by the Germany embassy in Accra. The African Union has also been pouring tributes and messages. This is a statement by the chairperson of the African Union Commission on the tragic helicopter crash. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has learned with deep sorrow of the tragic helicopter crash in the Ashanti region of the Republic of Ghana, which claimed the lives of 8 people, including Ghana's Minister of Defense, Minister of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation. The chairperson conveys his heartfelt condolences to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the government and people of Ghana, and the bereaved families of all those who lost their lives in this national tragedy. He also expresses his solidarity with the Ghana Armed Forces and the ruling National Democratic Congress during this difficult time. His Excellency Mr. Yusuf stated, the African Union stands in full solidarity with Ghana in mourning this profound loss. May the souls of the departed rest in eternal peace. There's something also coming in just finally from Engineer Kwabena Ejejapong. He's commiserating with families of the Ghana Armed Forces. he says, I have received with great sorrow the news of the Ghana Armed Forces helicopter crash in the Ashanti region, which claimed the precious lives of 8 people on board. This is a devastating blow to our nation. We have lost courageous men, public servants, and soldiers who dedicated their lives to the country's peace and stability. On behalf of myself, my family, and my campaign team, I express my heartfelt condolences to the President, His Excellency John Mahama, the government, the families of all those who have lost their lives, and to the Ghanaian populace. I mourn with you all in this difficult time. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. May the souls of our dear compatriots rest in eternal peace. And again, it was signed by Engineer Kwabena Ejejapong, who's a former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Alfred.
I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Hot Edition. Been a solemn one. Join us same time tomorrow. But join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Christabel. Success Treve. Have a good evening.